Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. FIDE are very busy of late. They're making lots and lots of changes. We obviously got all the new regulations around the FIDE World Cup and how it's going to work in 2027. But they have released the qualification pathways for the 2028 candidates. So in 2 years' time, when we have to get a new World Championship challenger, obviously Yokivar Sandarov won this year's candidates. And they've made some significant changes that we're going to talk about. They've gotten rid of certain things which people view as a positive, but because it's FIDE and they've made changes, there's obviously some negative backlash. We're not going to be going onto Twitter again in this video. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, in the last video we did covering the World Cup, we looked at the Twitter reaction of chess Twitter, some of the major voices there. But so we're just going to be looking at reading the article, and then I'll give you my thoughts. So FIDE approves qualification paths for the 2028 candidates. There is this whole article on FIDE's website, but basically, if we just scroll down, it's this image. This is the image that we have to talk about. Let me make sure it is nice and big. So let's zoom in here. Right, there we go. Can't miss it. Yeah, and my face isn't obscuring it at all. Okay, so for the FIDE candidates in the open section, 2 players will qualify from the FIDE Grand Swiss tournament next year in 2027. 2 players from the Total Chess World Championship Tour 2026/2027. So obviously the winner and the runner-up. Then the FIDE World Cup will only give 2 players. There's a reduction. It normally gives 3. And then 2 players being picked from the FIDE circuit and not just 1 anymore. So the major changes, there is no longer a rating spot. There's 1 less spot for the FIDE World Cup. And of course, now we've got 2 players going in through the World Championship Tour. There's no place in years gone by for the previous World Champion runner-up. They already got rid of that in the last edition. Ding Liren wasn't given a spot through that. So they've got 2 players in the circuit. Now, there were 2 players from the circuit in the previous candidates, but that's because they qualified each in through individual years. So I would assume that's how it's going to work. The winner of the 2026 circuit and the winner of the 2027 circuit will probably get those 2 places. 1 less spot, as I already mentioned, for the FIDE World Cup. Previously, it was all the guys who qualified on what would be the podium, the top 3. Now it is just 2. 2 players from the Grand Swiss. I think that is about the same. They may also have had 3. And obviously the Total Chess World Championship Tour is new. When we're looking at the women's section, it is 2 players from the FIDE Women's Grand Swiss, 2 players from the Women's Circuit, 2 players from the Women's World Cup. The only difference for them is that they have the Women's Grand Prix Series, which runs from 2026 to 2027. That's where they're picking the players from. And that is the substitute for the Total Chess World Championship Tour. So those are the qualification paths. Now, it is interesting what they've done. And we'll read a bit more in the article. So you can see circuit extended over 2 years. FIDE will continue toward 2 qualification paths. However, instead of allocating 1 place per year, the qualification will now be based on the combined results. So I was earlier in my previous assessment, it's not 1 per year. It is the 2 highest ranked players over a full 2-year cycle who will qualify for the candidates. Rating qualification was removed. This is a spot that has been contentious for the last 2 candidate cycles. Obviously, Hikaru got the last one for this year's candidates. And the previous year, it was Ferrugia who got it, but he, had to play some random tournament in France that had only just been organized and whatnot, and he played some things. World Cup was adjusted, so now the 2 finalists get it instead of 3 qualification places. The Total Chess becomes a qualification pathway. It is a little bit interesting, but at least they're making it worth something. So those are the main changes that they've had. So we've obviously then got this. So this is the basic summary. 8 players will qualify for the FIDE candidates like this, FIDE women's candidate like this, and it thinks it brings a balanced route to the candidates. The revised qualification system maintains 4 equally weighted qualification pathways, ensuring that players can reach the candidates through success in elite tournaments and long-term circuit performance. So, yeah, very interesting. Arkady Djokovic, the FIDE president, of course, goes on and gives this whole long statement, which you're more than welcome to read. I'm not going to. I'm just going to go back up and focus on this image, and now I'm going to change the smiley. So, look. This is the breaking news of the day. So, obviously, they made changes to the World Cup. which I think tend to, after giving it some thought, tend to favor some of the stronger players. We saw this year that there are quite a few upsets, and a lot of the top seeds got knocked out very early on. If you go back, I made a lot of videos about it, but if you go back in the playlist previews and reviews, and you go to the kind of videos where I was making in that time on the FIDE World Cup, Arjun got knocked out, Gukesh got knocked out, Hans got knocked out, a lot of top seeds got knocked out, even before like the semi-finals and the quarterfinals. Yokivar Sindarov, realistically speaking, was the one remaining top seed. And remember, he's only recently got very, very high in the ratings. Still at that point, he wasn't as highly rated as he is now after that performance, a good performance in one of the tournaments later in the year. I think he performed very well in Tata Steel, if memory serves correctly, and then he went and won the Candidates and also got a bunch of rating from there. So he wasn't one of the rating favorites. So they've adjusted that, which tend to favor some of the stronger players. In terms of the circuit, they've made adjustments to that. So there's a video, again, that you can go and reference on the channel. I will probably link it, if I remember, in this video, in the description. Check out the World Cup video, check out the circuit video, where they have made adjustments. So they are making all of these adjustments to the cycle. A lot of them are pretty positive. A lot of them are coming with some negativity. I think the thing is, I'm sorry, I'm babbling and I'm talking very quickly. Let me slow down. I think the thing is, a lot of tease there. We didn't know these were coming, and they seem to be very drastic changes. Now, this FIDE Candidates one is probably the least drastic of what they've done of lately. The World Cup one was the most. So that'll probably garner the most negative criticism. I like what they're doing with the candidates. Is it what I would do personally? No, but I'm not a top chess player. I'm not a player who's ever going to play in the candidates. I'm not even going to play in one of the candidates qualifying events, So I'm not someone who these changes affect. So you should be looking at the opinion of top grandmasters and what they think. Obviously, I will someday, I'm writing the script. Someday, maybe for my 21st birthday this year, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, I will release a video on how I would fix chess. Which sounds strange, I'm 21. But it would be really funny. This probably isn't how I would do a candidate, but it makes sense. It only leaves you 4 qualifying pathways. Now, within those 4 qualifying pathways, there's a lot of different things you can do. So the circuit is quite vast. It's a 2-year period. You've got to give in strong performances. You've got to earn your points and so on and so forth. And that you can do by playing any number of events. Rapid Blitz and so on. The World Cup now, I'm not saying is easier to win, but it's less demanding to win. They've cut down a significant number of days and potentially, I don't know if it's the significant number of games, but I mean, it was a lot of rounds, and the players, if you go look on Twitter at Charlize Van Sale, she used to work for FIDE, she's only recently now left there. She did a lot of interviews with the players. You can probably check those interviews out on the FIDE YouTube channel. A lot of the players, particularly at the back end of the tournament, were complaining, or just stating, maybe not complaining, how tired they were, how exhausted they were. Yes, it's just one chess game per day, but they were doing this for a month. And, some of the lower-rated players could get really good runs in the tournament by drawing their games and then getting through tiebreaks. So, eliminating one spot for the World Cup is interesting because generally the World Cup has been where you've got some shock, potentially players where they've gone deep and it's like, well, how did that guy qualify? And the Grand Swiss as well, only having 2 players. You're trying to get the strongest field you can. Eliminating the rating spot is a good thing because it's been very contentious, but it does mean there is a way where we get to the candidates next year, and the 8 players that have qualified, maybe only half of them are in the top 10, top 20 rating on FIDE. Top 20 rated FIDE players, classical. There's a way that happens because you could get some, 52nd seed or whatever, 52nd in the world that has a really fantastic World Cup run or a really fantastic Grand Swiss or does really well in some good tournaments and does well in the circuit. Not necessarily going to happen. Prague tends to dominate the circuit. The Indian players tend to do well. They play lots of tournaments and they generally perform quite well. And so on. Obviously, when this video comes out, I'm going to be doing a preview for the Chennai Masters, which looks really fantastic. But the pathway exists like that. Like, Wei Yi wasn't top 10 in the world. Sindarov, when he qualified, wasn't top 10 in the world. Esipenko wasn't top 10. Blue Bomb wasn't top 10. So you can see where this thing happens. And generally, the candidates, you're deciding the challenger for the World Championship. You want that ideally to be the highest rated player in the world at the time, or the best informed player, the best player in the world who's not the world champion. And we live in a world where the world champion's not even in the top 10. So, exciting changes, interesting changes. We will see how it pans out, how this qualification goes on until 2028, and then we'll see the type of tournament that 2028 presents us. But it is clear that you will need to perform very, very well to get into the candidates. You cannot do what Hikaru did last year. They've eliminated that. You will need to perform well in the circuit, or you will have to go to the Grand Swiss, to the World Cup. You have to qualify to the Total Chess World Championship, which I think is pretty much closed. I don't think there's any spots left to determine. You will have to perform very well in that. My question is, I haven't read the full guidelines, but I will leave you with this, ladies and gentlemen. If Magnus Carlsen qualifies to the candidates because he wins the Total Chess World Championship Tour, which is meant to decide 2 places, where do they give his place to? Is it in the Total Chess World Championship, the player who finishes 3rd? If Hikaru qualifies but decides not to play the candidates, because that could happen, what does he do? Where do they get that place from? And so on and so forth. Previously, it was, they would get the runner-up at the World Cup or something like that. They would get 3rd, or whichever way the player qualified, they would go next best. Where do you get it now? Is it a rating spot? Is it a wild card spot? What do you think? What would you do if you were FIDE? Or would you force Magnus Carlsen to play? Good luck with that. But he is playing the Total Chess World Championship Tour. I will leave you that, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you didn't, let me know why in the comments down below.